So the Trump administration went around the Israeli government and negotiated the release of a hostage that has dual citizenship. This person has Israeli and American passports. Never was there a better ad for holding an American passport than the fact that Israel has left this person to die, and the Trump administration cannot abide this. Now, reports are that the Netanyahu regime is not happy with this. They were left out of the negotiation, and Steve Witkoff, the envoy to President Trump, is saying Israel is just not even trying. They're not trying to get their people back. Of course, we've reported that for months now, that Israel is not trying to release the hostages. And in fact, that the Palestinian offer was always all for all, because Israel has hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. That's what Hamas wanted, was the release of those people. And Israel continues to pee in the pool, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and so this all comes as multiple reports say that Trump is finished with Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, you saw this kind of happening over the weekend. Like, wait a second, is the Trump administration starting to really edge out the Netanyahu regime? Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, is wildly unliked right now in Israel. And Steve Witkoff saying that they want to continue this war. Continuing this war keeps Netanyahu in power. I'm telling you, a few weeks ago, of course, we reported here on the show that Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump are not friends. President Trump does not like Benjamin Netanyahu.
What's to like?
According to sources inside the White House, that has been the case. And I swear to God, I had a feeling this was going to happen. I'm not that I'm like a soothsayer, but I'm telling you, when Netanyahu starts to steal President Trump's thunder on a routine basis, like when President Trump in the middle of the night, so it's the middle of the night, and Netanyahu releases these video messages basically praising the Trump administration for their alignment with Israel. And then you wake up on the East Coast of the United States, and these video messages have been released by Netanyahu at like 4 a.m, so they don't have a chance to respond.
Yeah.
It makes President Trump look foolish on a number of different levels. And I think Scott Ritter nailed it when he says that basically the reason that this is a problem for Israel is because President Trump is a narcissist. So look at this. He said, Israel is the greatest single threat to the United States, a cancer that has disguised itself as part of the American body. America should be grateful that we elected a narcissist like Donald Trump as president. So think about that for a second. Because, let's be honest, Donald Trump is a narcissist. We know this.
Yeah, he thinks he got the Pope elected.
Yes, but this is the reason this is a big deal, that he's a narcissist, because that means that if you insult or sort of upstage him in a way,
or his administration,
then what you're doing is you're going to get a big middle finger. You're going to be edged out and boxed out. And that's exactly what happened in these hostage negotiations, that Israel wasn't invited to it. They haven't been a party to it. They're being pushed out. And then suddenly the mainstream media, I'm talking this morning, The Guardian, the Financial Times, all suddenly saying that the West should be ashamed of itself for not calling out the genocide in Gaza and what Israel has done in Gaza. Like,
way to catch up. Yeah. How did this happen almost 2 years later, almost 2 years of death?
Yes.
They've been able to abide, but now there's a red line. What is that? And in fact, even today, I almost fell out of my chair. Cindy McCain, the wife of John McCain, who wanted a war with Iran, on behalf of Israel. He wanted a war with Iran so bad he couldn't even stand it. And now Cindy McCain is saying that we have this aid, because she's a representative for the United Nations, I believe, saying we've been sitting on this aid and people are starving. We should all be ashamed of ourselves. So even legacy warmongers are saying that this is enough. Now we can collectively say we're starving these people. This is collective punishment. Now, over the weekend, the new Pope Leo called out the starvation of these people in Gaza. He said that humanitarian aid must reach them. Israel said we can't, because these civilians are mixing with Hamas. So by that definition, if in your town there are terrorists or bad people or whatever, and you might have mixed with them, exchanged a straw or something like that, at the little drink station, handed somebody something, then we should all starve. We should all be treated like this, right? By that definition, they're mixing with. What were you going to say?
No, I'm just saying, like, so a lot of people in the chat say, yes, he is a narcissist. Others saying, oh, Karen Q says, sick of you, Redacted, calling the president a narcissist. By the way, those were Scott Ritter's words. Those were not our words. But I think he's clearly, even Tucker Carlson called it out. He's a guy who talks about big crowd size, definitely is aware of his television presence. Like,
well,
I mean, maybe he's not a narcissist.
That word in and of itself implies that you can't have love for other people before yourself. And I would say Donald Trump has a large ego and cares very much about perception. I don't know if, it rises to the level of clinical narcissism where he can't love other people. If that's what you would object to, we have no business clinically diagnosing him as a narcissist. So point taken.
Yeah. Okay. So others are saying, oh, he's absolutely not a narcissist. Either way, it doesn't matter. He doesn't want Netanyahu upstaging him and setting the tone and tenor of these of any of this, hostage negotiations or otherwise. And so you have the Trump administration of just push them out of the conversation. We are not involved in this conversation. Israel is not involved in this hostage release conversation. We're going to do it in other ways. He's flying to the Middle East with a lot on his plate right now, as Ron Paul wrote this morning. He's got a crap show that he's dealing with now in the Middle East. He's got Saudi Arabia, who aligned themselves with Iran and formalized a ceasefire and peace agreement together, and basically brought relations back together between the two of them. He's got the Houthis, who, of course, the Trump administration is trying to put forward this idea that their show of force brought them to the table, and now they don't want to fight anymore. It wasn't that at all. In fact, as Ron Paul pointed out, basically the Trump administration had to retreat from that because it was a failure.
Right.
That's what's happened. So he's going to the Mideast right now with a total crap show in front of him. What can he possibly pull out of that?
Let's not forget that it's not that Israel made Trump look like a puppet, which is also true. Netanyahu threatened him. He gave him a pager, which is what they use to blow up senior officials in Lebanon. So to give somebody a weapon as a warning, I don't see that as anything other than an unveiled threat. So I think that President Trump has always known. I mean, even if his personality aside, I think a lot of people voted for him thinking he won't be pushed around by Netanyahu, which we have clear reports now that the Biden administration was, that Biden was a puppet of Israel, the same way that the Obama administration was, the same way that many seniors in the first Trump administration were. So what we're watching for now as the hostage becomes released, which there are images of him today. He's supposedly returning to New Jersey within the next few days, and Qatar is a party to this negotiation. He will meet with President Trump. What is the narrative around his treatment? Will Israel because Israel left him to die, full stop. They left him to die, right? Will they say, well, he was really poorly treated? I think that's kind of on you. Also, if you left him there, that's also on the Zionist government. Go ahead.
Well, we've reported multiple times that these hostages have not been important to the Israeli government. Full stop. And that is why you have massive amounts of protests in the street of Tel Aviv.
Yes.
Because the release of these hostages has not been important to the Benjamin Netanyahu regime. The moment all of those hostages are released and this war ends, Benjamin Netanyahu is out of power. Those aren't my words. Those are multiple words of high-ranking officials who know and study this very, very deeply and have pointed out that he has been hanging on by tenterhooks. If this war ends, Netanyahu is out of power. He's not well-liked. And you even had those of like Ehud Olmert, who's basically running against him, saying that the whole problem is not with Hamas, it's not with Hezbollah. The former prime minister of Israel saying the main problem is Netanyahu. Listen to this.
I will say it. The real enemy that we have is not Iran, which is an enemy. It's not Hezbollah, which is an enemy. It's not Hamas, which is an enemy. The real enemy is from within. The messianic, crazy, extreme groups of Israelis that think that they can kick out the Palestinians and annex the territories. I'm fighting against them. I'm campaigning against them. And I think that this is incumbent upon the Israeli government and Netanyahu. Unfortunately, Netanyahu depends on them politically to the extent that he closes his eyes and he allows them to do things which are totally intolerable and unacceptable.
What I appreciate so much about that is the inability to reduce things to a binary. So a lot of times if you speak out against the Israeli government, you're accused of supporting Hamas. Obviously, that's not the case. You can wish for peace without supporting what Hamas has done, what they stand for, anything like that. So, yeah, again,
Spanish Fly is such a troll. I love this. Redacted siding with Hamas. When did we side with a terrorist organization?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that didn't happen on our show at all. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but what we've been talking about is the demon Benjamin Netanyahu, who's being edged out of this entire conversation. I think the writing is on the wall. I think President Trump knows that. I think you have members of the Trump administration that know that. But you're seeing the same playing card all being played out here. And this is exactly what Zionists are doing right now, coming out to slam President Trump for edging out. Just read Twitter over the past 48 hours. Like, we know what you're doing here, J.D. Vance. We know what you're doing here, President Trump. You're basically edging out Israel. You're throwing Israel under the bus in all of this. Mark Levin, who, here's a Zionist. He absolutely wants war, and he's a warmonger. He absolutely wants war with Iran. Says, I believe the Saudis and the Qataris plan to pressure our country for a Palestinian state or something akin to it during this trip. For Qatar, it means a permanent terrorist state. It will continue to fund to destroy Israel. Remember, Qatar is a close ally of Iran's and has spent billions on Hamas, the Taliban, and terror groups throughout the world. For the Saudis, they believe it will be a face-saving measure to enable them to join the Abraham Accords. No one has told me this. I'm just watching and observing. So he's like saying, hey, I don't know any info. I'm, part of this Trump administration now. I don't know anything about this.
Oh, he also was observing that there have been found secret Iranian nuclear sites now. He just observed that after almost 2 decades of a full decade of the Obama administration sanctioning them on the assumption that they had nukes and never being able to prove it. All of a sudden now, when Israel starts to lose the narrative, when Israel starts to show its fangs, oh, wait, I found it. My mom went looking for it because no one can find anything unless mom goes looking, and you know it.
Well, and you had Glenn Greenwald coming out, pointing out Mark Levin. He said, here we go. You're going to see Zionists are going to come out of the woodwork right now. They're going to use the same talking points that got us into war in Iraq, so Saddam's weapons of mass destruction. It's the same playbook these neocons have been using for the last 20 years. Don't fall for it. So regardless of how you feel about Israel, you can separate Israel from the corrupt regime that is the Benjamin Netanyahu regime. Okay, I have friends who used to work for Benjamin Netanyahu and have told me personally how corrupt the man is. They don't work for him anymore. They know you can stand with Israel, but you can absolutely abhor the Netanyahu regime. And I think the writing is on the wall. It's going to be very interesting over the next few days to see what President Trump does in the Middle East with this trip. Mm-hmm. And again, it's one of those things where the United States was saying, we want this hostage back. We're going to negotiate to get it done. Israel is stepping in our way. It's getting in our way. They do not want these hostages released because hostages being released means it could potentially mean an end to this conflict, an end to this war, and therefore the Netanyahu government would crumble. Well,
you see it, though. Now there's a sense of urgency by President Netanyahu. Over the weekend, he spoke of his plan to destroy the Gaza Strip. But this is a quote from him. But the problem as he sees it is that not enough host countries will take the displaced civilians. Here's a quote. We are destroying more and more homes. You just say that, Yeah.
Well, by the way, we should point out 4 days ago or 5 days ago, Netanyahu said we will occupy all of Gaza.
Right.
And the Trump administration was like, wait a minute. No. So we are going to step in and try to negotiate actually having peace talks and make sure with Iran on the nuclear deal. We're not going to use you in this conversation. Also, we're going to negotiate the end and release of our own hostages without you. So this was I think that could have been the moment when Netanyahu comes out and says, we will occupy all of Gaza basically in perpetuity. And the Trump administration is like, What? Well, come on. Wait, whoa. Really? This is going to happen? I think that could have been the catalyst moment. I don't know. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Well, let me finish this quote because I can't say that. But I said it. So here's what he said. We are destroying more and more homes, and Gazans have nowhere to return to. The only inevitable outcome will be the wish of Gazans to emigrate outside of the Gaza Strip. And so his problem is that there are not enough host countries to take them. Israel, even though there's innocent civilians, Israel is a non grata. They can't go there, right? So here's a little bit of a thought exercise. Let's pretend that every resident of the Gaza Strip said, okay, well, we're going to live in Cyprus or whatever. Would Israel still pursue them in another place? Obviously not. It's not the people they want. It's the land, clearly. All right.
Yeah. No. And Linda says on in our chat, in our YouTube chat, she says, Redacted is not anti-Semitic. No, I mean, of course not. They and we, meaning she, Linda as well, are anti-Zionist. Will you people please educate yourselves about this, please? I think, no, our chat room is very... I
appreciate you saying that.
But our chat room is very educated on this. There might be a few people that don't understand the difference, but seriously, just educate yourself on that. Very
and
clear.
Absolutely... Our kids went to a diplomatic school. We know a lot of Israeli diplomats. We don't want this murderous reputation to affect innocent people who have nothing to do with this, right? We want this is fostering anti-Semitism because you meet a Jewish person in the world and you think they must be okay with genocide. This is how it's affecting them in the world, right? It's not right. It shouldn't be this way. And it has to end for it to happen.
And friend of the show, Glenn Greenwald, who is Jewish and a journalist, saying, as an American citizen, you have the right as an American citizen to say that you don't want your U.S. tax dollars going to killing innocent people, killing children, killing women. Yes. Oh, you could justify and say, oh, they're terrorists, killing Hamas. I don't want my American tax dollars going to kill anybody. So as an American citizen, I don't want any bombs going into these bunkers, hitting these civilian hospitals, any of that. I don't want any of that. It's the same thing in Ukraine.
But what do you make of the fact that because you think of the headlines that we've experienced, for instance, when the Israeli military killed those 15 medics that had their lights on and they said, oh, they were being aggressive. We didn't, and then when the video came out, they said, well, it was just a mistake. And the headline from the BBC was Israel, admits something. Well, no, it's not that they have admitted anything. They were caught lying. Why is the media all of a sudden reporting on reality?
I don't know. That's the big question to me. What do you guys think about this? So over the past 48 hours, the Trump administration is distancing themselves from the demon that is Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, he is Satan by all accounts. And the Israeli people have been protesting by the tens of thousands against this guy. So I think the writing is on the wall of the fall of this demon in Israel. And maybe the Israeli people can have a government that is not aligned with Netanyahu and that party. So you have that over the past 48 hours, the Trump administration distancing themselves. Then you have multiple mainstream media publications, which are never on the side of Trump, right? Financial Times, The Guardian, and others coming out with headlines on how we in the West should be ashamed of ourselves for not having called attention to the ethnic cleansing that's been taking place in Gaza. Why do you think that is? Like something has shifted, and right. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
We, the West, is just the way you reported it. The rest of us have a pretty stinking clear conscience.
And why are you blaming? Yeah, why are you blaming us? Like we've been reporting it from the very beginning here at Redacted. Like we've been very.
And in fact, social media is pretty clear on who the aggressors here. So I think they're only reporting on themselves. You can't even blame the American people for it.
Or are they also blaming like the Biden administration was quiet? I mean, maybe they're blaming the collective. I don't know.
It's we, the elites. Really weird. I suppose we, the Biden administration and the media. But for the most part, the collective we is pretty not okay with this.
Yeah. Like I don't think you can be against a terrorist group called Hamas. You can be against brutally killing random people like what Hamas did on October 7th, but you can also be against an ethnic cleansing and a genocide, wiping out women and children, killing tens of thousands of civilians, you can also be against those things.
If you were going to rewind the clock, you can be against kidnapping Palestinians and graping them without a G. Long before October 7th, we were against that too.
Videra Kerr in our Rumble chat says Israel is not ruled from within Israel. They are ruled from global bankers, mostly in London, on the London Square Mile.
Okay.
The banking cabal. Absolutely.
We'll look into that. I went down a banking cabal rabbit hole last night. That's why the newsletter was so late. About the banking cabal that killed Pope John Paul I. Do you know about this? Do you want to go down this rabbit hole with me? Because it kept me up really late. I didn't know about it because it happened when I was 1 month old. But that's some stuff. Are we going to do that? Let's do that together. Okay, I'm going to read the book. We're going to get back to this, but I want to know what you know if you've already known this.
Surveyor of Bear says IDF killed a lot more than Hamas did on October 7th. That's been well documented, yes. Davey says, don't buy it. A false flag incoming. Again, whenever I see this stuff, I always smell false flags. So, like, what kind of a false flag? The media is now calling out Israel. Like, something is really fishy here. Trump is turning away from the Netanyahu regime. Like, I don't know. I smell a fish. I smell something funny. I smell something funky. All right.
Okay. The Pope book, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this together. Name of the book is called In God's Name by David Yallop. It was an instant hit in 1984. I was in kindergarten, so I missed it. But I'm not going to miss it now. Yeah, we're coming back around to this. So let me know if you're in. You're in or you're in. You're on Redacted, so you're in. You have to be in on all conspiracies. That's why you came here.